And welcome into another Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show here on Channel 4. Thank you very much for being here with us. I am Ross Jackson. This is the marvelous Doug Mouton, and we are here to bring you everything you need to know about the exciting matchup between the New Orleans Saints and the New York Jets this weekend. Although it is a lot more exciting than it once was.
But I am excited.
It is a lot more exciting.
And look, we were talking in the sports office, and I thought, you know what? This is a couple of days before Christmas, and I would say, Saints fans, give yourself a Christmas present and watch the Saints. It's a chance to get a little Christmas win.
Yeah, they've been very exciting recently, especially in in-game situations, really good, and sort of like the money portions of games. So, yeah, no, there is some genuine excitement here, and perhaps some Christmas magic on the way for the New Orleans Saints, who are looking to improve upon where their start here late in the season.
If you've cashed out, come on back, because it's been fun the last 2 weeks, and I don't blame you for having cashed out when they were 2-10. Look, the difference has been Tyler Shuck, and that's where, to me, 95% of the optimism going forward is based around the fact that it looks like you have your quarterback. Certainly you have your quarterback for next year. Is he the long-term answer? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But he is, without question to me, the answer next season. Are you buying in on that?
I absolutely buy in on it. I think he's the best rookie quarterback that we've seen across the NFL as well in terms of the performances. Now, some of that has to do maybe with some of the supporting cast that some of the other rookie quarterbacks have. Cam Ward's supporting cast with the Tennessee Titans, not great.
Not good.
Not great. But, New Orleans has really kind of figured things out both at the quarterback position and around the position as well, led by, of course, head coach Kellen Moore.
Yeah, the job Tyler Shuck has done in the last couple of weeks. I keep saying it's confidence inspiring, and I believe that. All right, let's show you what's coming up on this edition of the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. We're going to be having a drink. Not so much food, but the drink is coming. Here's what's on the menu. The large plates, this is what we're talking about in large quantities. Tyler Shuck and his development and the defense. Chase Young in the D has been outstanding. I'm going to get back to that in a minute. And then the small plates,
Yeah,
Ross.
we'll take a look at some of the supporting cast that we were just highlighting. How about the last 2 weeks for wide receiver Devon Vele? So much controversy and opinion around the trade and how he has made it work. We'll take a look at all that. And then, of course, we'll also take a look at, one of the best stories around the NFL, if not the best story. How about Charlie Smith, the Irishman, out here kicking a game winner in just his third NFL game?
Yeah, that was awesome. Charlie Smith is going to be my last call. I can't wait to talk about it. Here's the thing I don't know if people realize. Over the last 8 weeks, which is the last 7 games for the Saints are number 1 in the NFL right now in pass defense. That's yards given up per game. And they're 3rd overall in total defense. That is Brandon Staley, of course, who has done you brought him up as your last call last week or 2 weeks ago?
I think so, yeah.
What a job.
Yeah, because he's been absolutely awesome. I love that he puts this logo on the back of his call sheet so no one can zoom in and read his call sheet.
Nice. It's been beautiful.
Mastermind.
Mastermind. And then our dinner guest tonight, 2 of the greats. Luke Johnson does an awesome job covering the Saints for the Times-Picayune/NOLA.com. And then the ridiculousness that is Ricardo LeCompte. And I am making the drink tonight. And I make drinks for Christmas. We do Christmas at the Mouton house. And this is what I'm testing out. So you're the guinea pig, Ross.
I love it.
I am making a Christmas daiquiri. It is
I have been a guinea pig for much worse things than this.
Yeah, that's right. And I know you like daiquiris, so this is for you. But it's with cranberry juice, and it looked awesome.
Yeah.
All right, that is the guy who played quarterback for the Jets this week. What is his name?
That is Brady Cook.
Brady Cook, an undrafted rookie from Missouri. And then here are the Jets stats you need to know. They're 3-11. Right now they have the 5th pick in the draft, and they want to move up. And they're passing off. So the Saints were number 1 in pass defense. Jets are last in pass offense. That sounds like a good matchup for the Saints. It is a noon kickoff in the Caesars Superdome, a game you can only see on Channel 4. And the Saints, 4.5-point favorites. That means not only do they get the home boost, but the odds makers think the Saints are a better team than the New York Jets, which I would definitely agree with. And look, let's go back to Brandon Staley. When you look at the last 2 weeks, what has been even better than what was good the last 2 weeks?
I think one of the things that I really like about him is how much he changes everything up and how they match up to their opposition. We highlighted a few episodes ago about how they went heavy man coverage up against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He said that the game situation in terms of the weather there kind of played a little bit into that, but also it helps when you're going up against a team that goes for it on 4th down 7 times with the arrogance of Todd Bowles in that situation. But then you look at this week, and they spent most of their time rushing with just 4 down linemen. It was something that Chase Young talked about after the game, that it was going to come down to the front 4, going out there and getting pressure on Bryce Young. And of course, that photo that you saw earlier was an example of Chase Young showing up when he needed to take over the game a little bit towards the end of that game.
And Chase Young has absolutely played, and look, he missed significant time at the beginning of the season. So when it comes to postseason awards, he's probably not going to be there because of the missed time. But if you watch him over the last couple of weeks, he is playing, to me, at an all-pro level.
Yeah.
And what you saw, when you needed your star to be a star in the fourth quarter, he was a star and shut down that last Carolina drive when it was a tie game, gave Tyler Shuck the chance to win. To me, he is the straw or the spoon, the mixing spoon that stirs it all. Yes.
Yes, I look, in the NFL, you play close games. And when you play close games, you need closers. And the Saints might have found a closer on offense with Tyler Shuck, but the closer on defense was always going to be the big question. And it feels like Chase Young has been that guy. I think he's just 1.5 sacks now away from his career high of 7.5. Wow. He's got 6 on the season now so far. And as you mentioned, got a late start on the year on top of all of it. So it's great to have closers on both sides of the team.
And Brandon Staley's having all that success on defense, playing a ton of young guys.
Yeah,
like it feels sustainable going forward. You want to add some pieces in the offseason, but man, you love what they're building on.
Yeah, absolutely. You got 2 rookies that are starting in that secondary. You got a second-year cornerback in Kool-Aid McKinstry that's starting in that secondary, and you have young pieces that are getting mixed in over the defensive line. And let's not forget that Chase Young is still young. Like, I'm not just saying that because of his last name. Like, he genuinely is young.
He's 26.
26, if I recall correctly. And so, like, he's still in that under 30 area of where, you want to keep this guy around for a while.
You do. And we're going to bring on our guests when we come back on the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. Ross and I, Luke and Ricardo are going to join us. We're back with more in a minute. And thank you for joining us tonight on the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. We are back with our guest. That is Luke Johnson. That is Ricardo Lecomte. And Ross, take it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, we've seen it was a tough start for New Orleans at the beginning of the season, to say the least.
Rough.
But here over the course of the past few games, we've seen a lot of momentum for this team. So, Luke, I want to start with you. Are you buying the current version of the New Orleans Saints in terms of their trajectory going into next year?
Buy.
Oh, I love it.
Look, I've said it like throughout the year that I was still high on what Kellen Moore could be as a coach, play caller. I just think there's so much of a history of success there, and he's had a lot of rough moments.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But I think he's starting to piece it together, and we're starting to see what it can look like when the quarterback and the head coach are aligned.
Yep.
It's not perfect yet.
Yeah.
Their run game is still kind of a mess. They're winning games by scoring 20, 23, 24 points, but you can see this offense and this quarterback and the head coach all being in sync, all being aligned, and that is like the most important thing you have to have as an NFL franchise.
100%.
Yeah, that is awesome. I like the aligned.
Yeah. He also won a challenge this past week.
Congrats.
So that was really good. He talked about that after.
1 for 5.
Too. So that's awesome. Yeah, no, lots of things like going the right way for Kellen Moore and the patience there. Ricardo, what do you think?
Yeah, I would get on the phone with my broker and just be like, listen, all that black and gold stock, like let's go buy it. Let's go all in. Let's figure this out. And I kept saying, and I've been saying this repeatedly for the last few weeks, the biggest win that the Saints can have in 2025 is that they have the quarterback position, not like totally like we found our guy for the future, but at least settled going into the offseason, because you have so many holes on this roster. And you can look at running back, you can look at pieces that you want to run defensively, offensive line. There's so many pieces that you need to concentrate on working in the offseason in the draft to do. If you do not have to worry about taking a quarterback high in this upcoming draft, then that's a win, because you can address all those other issues. And what we've seen from Tyler Shuck in these games that he started, it's somebody who just looks poised, someone who was not for his age coming out of the draft,
big time,
and the fact that you see that maturity that he's had as a rookie in terms of how he's able to navigate the pocket, how he's able to handle pressure in these clutch situations, leading the team down the field to win games. If you have that quarterback positionally settled going into the offseason, that's a win. And it feels like the Saints are with Tyler Shuck.
And the New York Jets, their opponents this week, are a perfect example of a team that also, like the Saints, needs help across the board. But their only mission in this offseason is going to be to find a quarterback.
Again.
Since Joe Namath. I mean, they're still looking.
And then that's it, right?
They're still looking for a quarterback. And the Saints seem to have that knocked out. Look, I am buying, and to me, what you said is right on the money between coach and quarterback. But the fact that the offense, that Shuck and Kellen Moore are able to get production out of this offense, they were playing their 4th, 5th, and 6th running backs in this game on the season. And the offensive line is in semi-tatters. I think you've had one offensive lineman play all year and have a really good year, and that's Kelvin Banks, the first rounder, who has quietly been an excellent pick. But I think once you give him real pieces, maybe get a number 1 receiver and get some interior offensive line help, I am really optimistic about what this offense can do once you fix the problems, because they're doing it right now with a lot of holes.
Yeah. So you buying?
I'm absolutely buying. What about you?
Yeah. So I'm buying. I have one more thing that I'd like to see, though. Okay. One thing I'd like to see. Like, overall, this I'm buy, right? But the one thing I would like to see is I want to see, because this team has a history of this far beyond Kellen Moore, I want to just see them beat an opponent that they're supposed to beat. That's just kind of the last thing that I'd like to see. And to Luke's point, look, they've scored 20 or more points 4 times so far this season. Beat a team you're supposed to beat handily. And we talked about the Christmas miracle that could be this weekend. This could be a game where they can do that. And this is certainly a game where you're walking in knowing that the Saints should win this game.
Right. And the one knock that you would, if you wanted to go, all right, well, Tyler Shuck has beaten the Panthers twice, and then the Bucs, right? Yeah. So and the Bucs seem to be free falling, kind of like figuring things out. So yes, to that point, you're like, all right, what's that team that you go, all right, this is an elite or a playoff team or a team that you go, man, Tyler Shuck did that against. Now, you close out the season against opponents that are not in that realm with the Titans.
But I want to see them beat those guys.
I
want to see them beat the ones they're supposed to beat.
Right, and then if you close against the Falcons, and I think the Falcons are still a tricky game just because there's a
100%.
lot. You have a lot of names on the Falcons to beat, but if this team can end the season on a 5-game win streak, which is a realistic possibility, then you go, all right, now there's that momentum. That's that thing that you want to take in the offseason. I know it's different year to year, but this is true momentum that you can have going into the offseason.
The other reason to buy, just based on that, is how well they've performed against the division so far this year. That's obviously worth buying for the future too.
Yeah, they're going to play those guys.
Absolutely, 100%. And look, we could talk about the Panthers maybe not being that great a team, the Bucs not being that great of a team. The Panthers beat the LA Rams.
Yes.
The Green Bay Packers, they have shown up against some really good teams. For the fact that the Saints swept them this season is a big deal.
Yeah.
One of those two teams is going to go to the playoffs. We can talk about whether they deserve to go to the playoffs. But one of them is going to go to the playoffs. And this is something that we have not seen from the Saints in recent years, is the ability to beat those teams consistently. And I think a lot of it starts with Tyler Shuck. He'd be 4-2 right now if it wasn't for Chris Olave not making a play that you'd expect Chris Olave to make.
Yeah,
All right, let me flip that around. Give me what is your boil water advisory. Give me what you think is the biggest problematic thing, the thing that's making you go, the groan part right now. What is it for you, Lee?
I mean, for me, it's got to settle on that running game that I referenced a little bit before. And I think they've gotten some nice stuff out of Devin Neal. I was impressed by Audric Estime and the way he played in the clutch last week. But I don't think the run game is all on those running backs.
Right.
I think it is a system problem for this team right now. It is an offensive line problem, and those are two things that we kind of were expecting to be strengths. I mean, remember, Kellen Moore and that Philadelphia Eagles offense last year, they were one of the best rushing attacks we've seen in a long time.
Yep.
It has not translated here.
Yeah.
And it's been great to see Tyler Shuck do the things that he's done without that.
Yeah.
But if they are going to really get the most out of their young quarterback, he is young, they need to help him out. They need to help him out.
Yeah.
And they need to help him out with the run game, especially against the Panthers are not a good run defense.
Right.
The Bucs are a good run defense, but the Falcons were going into it having a terrible time defending the run, and they didn't get anything going against them. It's got to happen at some point.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah, and kind of building on that, it's like, all right, so what's the next kind of outlet if you have all these issues at running back, offensive lineman? It's like, all right, let's run Tyler Shuck, right? And we're seeing this kind of develop where you're calling more RPOs, you're getting him out there. I don't want to see him take those hits like I know on that the game-winning drive where he's sliding down, getting popped, and then has to get off the field for a play. And that's kind of like, hey, this is again the asset that you need moving into the offseason. If you don't have any production in the run game because you have those issues, and you decide, all right, maybe Tyler Shuck can provide that. It's like you got to protect him as well, and that's the danger of trying to extend and expand his role in running the ball because you have these deficiencies in the run game. So you got to protect Tyler Shuck as much as you can here in these final 4 games.
We're 3 for 3. For me, it's the offensive line too.
Same thing. So particularly the interior.
That's look, I'm guessing the Saints know that. And that is something you got to attack, and that's something you can attack in free agency, which I like. All right, tonight we have got a special 1-hour live Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. It's not just this half hour. The only way you can catch that second half hour is to join us on our streaming app, WWL Plus. Go ahead and switch over right now if you want to. Just download the app. It is free for your TV, and watch us. We're going to go to 7:30 tonight.
We'll be right back.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. It's time for the last call. It's time for us to have a drink and give a think. This is where we make a drink, and then we'll give you kind of our parting takes at the end of the day today. And Doug is making our drink with a little bit of a Christmas twist.
Yes, I'm doing a daiquiri because I know you love daiquiris. So I'm trying to make Rush
It's the perfect drink.
I'm doing a Christmas daiquiri. A daiquiri, a real daiquiri, not the frozen, over-sugared daiquiri, but a real daiquiri is 3 ingredients. It's rum, lime juice, and then a syrup to sweeten it. This is rum, lime juice, and I'm going to do it with 2 different rums. And we want to taste them. You guys are my guinea pig. And then the sweetener is what's different. It's the falernum, which is a liqueur from Barbados, and then cranberry juice, which is from, cranberry juice. And some tiki bitters to lean into the, island.
Yeah, a little bit of rum, a little bit of lime, a little bit of citrus, all that.
So it's 1 and 2/3 of the rum, and then a half ounce of everything, and 4 drops of the bitters.
Oh, nice and easy.
So it's a lot of bitters.
That's
but yes, it's easy.
Nice and easy. This actually, I think, officially makes you a mixologist. If you're mixing in 4 or 5 ingredients here.
That's a threshold.
I'm impressed to see what you do with this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, last call time.
All right, let's dive into it.
Luke, you're up first.
Luke, what you got?
Last call. Remind me what I was supposed to do.
Just your last thing you were gonna. I know.
Yeah. Okay, I'm very sorry about this. Okay.
No, you're good.
I teased you with the cocktail.
It was a cocktail that got you distracted.
That's what my brain was on. Okay, look, we were talking about making a joke about Tyler Shuck being old.
Yes.
He's 26 right now. That makes him older than Jamar Chase, Penei Sewell, Patrick Surtain. Guys who are all in their 5th season in the league, all have all pros to their name.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Makes him an easy target.
Sure.
There's the throw at the combine that he just throws in the middle of nowhere. He's trying to trick shot throw. That's on Twitter, Instagram, whatever. Every time he makes a play, they're like, yeah, but he did this.
Did everything else, but this
he was taken in the 2nd round historically where you don't find franchise quarterbacks.
Yep.
All that stuff does not matter. The thing that matters is can he play on the field? And kudos to Tyler Shuck for showing everybody that the only thing that does matter, he's got that in spades.
Yeah, I love that.
Yes. Dig that.
I do think that there's a lot to like the pre-draft or the draft industrial complex, as it's sometimes called, that kind of runs these guys through the ringer, and none of it matters because they haven't actually played NFL football. And once they play NFL football, sometimes guys do exactly what it is.
It's crazy how one clip just can define your
oh my
process,
goodness.
right?
One completely meaningless clip.
Right.
As I'm sure he made 15 throws that were super impressive at the combine
Right.
against
One.
air with no pressure. It's what people do. But he
Yeah.
tries one trick shot, and it becomes like this legacy moment.
All right, final 3 minutes. Go.
All right, and I'll go next, and we'll stay in the Caesar Superdome. I want to say congratulations to the 3 state champions that we had in the from the prep classic. Ed DeCar, who I think is one of the best teams that I've covered in my 20 years of high school football. They won a state championship. Riverside got their 2nd ever state championship as well. And St. Charles Catholic won in a crazy ending, a wild ending against Shaw. And I wanted to say something to number 50. We don't need to say his name, but he was the one who had the personal foul penalty, throwing the helmet off. Yeah. And I want to tell him that, and I want to say this, is that don't let that mistake define you. I want you to be defined by how your response is to that mistake. So I want you to use that as a learning lesson and make yourself a better athlete, a better player, a better teammate, a better person off the field because of that.
Yeah.
Time is going to heal all wounds. So this eventually people will get over it. They'll go through the emotions of how it ended. But again, come out better on the other side of this.
Yeah.
And don't use that mistake to define the rest of your playing career and your life.
Not what you do wrong, all about what you do next.
To Tyler Shuck and the run that he is on.
Cheers,
Let's
cheers.
taste the drinks.
Most wins in the in this rookie QB class.
You want to go next, Ross?
Oh, yeah.
We're down to our last 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to do this drink real quick. Yep, I'm telling you, it just doesn't get any better than a daiquiri.
That's clean.
That's so good. We'll break the drink down a little bit more over in our second half. But here's what I'll say real quick. The Saints started off historically terrible as a red zone offense. 34.5% through the first 12 games of the season. That was historically over the course of the past 10 years, the last decade, fourth worst over the course of that time. Now, in the last 3 games, 75% red zone to touchdown conversion percentage.
Love that.
We talked about what we love about Brandon Staley and his ability to adjust. How about Kellen Moore and his ability to adjust in an area where they needed to get right?
And here's what I love about Ross Jackson. You not only are going to give me your take, but you're going to back it up with some factual numbers.
That's what I. That's
what
brand.
you do.
It's the brand.
That's the brand, and I love it. Look, my last take is. Or my last call.
Last call.
My last call is Charlie Smith. All right, Ben, put up that picture that I put in there. Here's what I love about Charlie Smith. All right, you ever watch the Great British Bake Off? Actually, that wasn't it. I sent it to you. It's in the rundown. Sorry. You watch the Great British Bake Off, right? Yes. And you see them taunting each other. They're like, oh, that's a wonderful sponge.
Yes.
Like, they just don't. All right, Charlie Smith hits the kick, and before the ball is even through the uprights, there it is. That's his look to the Carolina bench. Now look at the Carolina players. Right. They're still watching the ball. Taysom Hill's still watching the ball. The ball's not even done, and he is taunting the Carolina bench. That is Charlie Smith tuning in to his inner American.
Yeah.
Because when you watch, I'm going to kill you, Bobby Flay, I'm going to destroy you. Like, the American cooking shows are so much more violent than the UK cooking shows. And he is the taunting. He's saying, Bobby Flay, I can do that better than you.
And I'll go a step further. He's not just buying into his inner American. He's buying into his inner New Orleanian.
Oh, he is so New Orleanian-like.
We do.
Petty as hell.
Oh, yes, petty as hell. All right, join us on the app. We are there right now. We're going to pick it up again at 7 o'clock, and we're going to go another half hour. There are so many topics that we're going to dive into. We'll see you after the break on WWL Plus. Thanks for watching the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. Woo!
welcome into the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show Nightcap. Thank you very much for joining us here. And make sure you grab a drink and come and join us. We're going to be continuing to break down and look ahead both at the New Orleans Saints and this matchup between the Saints and the Jets. In case you didn't catch us during the first half hour on Channel 4, I'm Ross Jackson. This is Doug Mouton. We are joined by our fantastic guests today, Luke Johnson from the Times-Picayune, NOLA.com, and Ricardo LeCompte from right here at WWL TV.
I want to start with this. When you look at this team, Luke, and you say, all right, off-season priorities, 1, 2, 3.
Talking about this team and like their myriad needs all season, they still do have those things.
Yeah.
Right.
Is this team going to be like, yeah, you know what? I think we could take the luxury pick and take a running back at 10.
I hope that's their mindset.
I would be okay with it.
Right, and I hope that's their mindset.
100%.
If they get there. Yeah,
100%.
like Jeremiah Love is he is the best running back in college football.
Yeah,
for this year, and it's like, man, get a guy like that to give you that explosiveness that you want on this offense. Yeah, if he's available, that 100%. I'm all on board of Jeremiah Love if the Saints were able to get in position to draft him.
I would be okay with taking Jeremiah Love if the draft was tomorrow and the Saints were picking at 7. 100%.
Oh, yeah. So if they're at 10, then you're really okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's two players in this draft that take the positional value conversation and throw
I know
it
where
out
you
the
go with
window.
number 2.
Yeah.
One of which is Jeremiah Love,
Yes.
the running back out of Notre Dame. The second of which is Caleb Downs, the safety out of Ohio State.
I love Caleb Downs too.
Incredible player. And I think for the two of them, positional value matters because you're not drafting a kicker or a punter in the first round, right? So asterisk when I say this, but positional value doesn't matter when it comes to picking a playmaker that can have the best impact for you as the New Orleans Saints in the first round this season. For me, it's BPA, but it's best playmaker available for them going into this one. So my biggest thing would be, yes, an offensive playmaker. I don't feel like where I differ a little bit at the wide receiver conversation is that I'm so high on where Devon Vele is. I don't mind the idea, assuming that he finishes the season strong with what we get to see of him. Obviously, he's dealing with a shoulder injury. It might keep him out for a little bit. We'll see. There's only 3 games left. We'll find out what happens. But if he ends up being and continuing to show what it is that he can do, I wouldn't mind the Saints actually not going for one of the big-bodied number 1 wide receivers in the first round, like a Carnell Tate or a Jordan Tyson, but instead maybe in the second round falling back to a Casey Concepcion. Or later in the draft, going with a Zachariah Branch out of Georgia. Both of those guys are catch and run. They have the ball in their hands. Oh, my goodness, what's going to happen next?
Concepcion has been fantastic.
Yeah, those are all good choices.
He's an explosive guy,
And you think about like some of the best players in the NFL right now are the undersized slot receivers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Amon-Ra St. Brown, like if they dropped him or like his clone into this offense right now,
Right.
that would really open things up. I do think though that like there is value to a dominant ball-winning wide receiver.
There's no doubt.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt. And Amon-Ra is a great example. But he's not a little wide receiver. I mean, he's not the biggest guy, but he plays so tough, which is what the Saints haven't had out of wide receiver. For me, wide receiver is one, but man, Jeremiah Love, and I'm the guy who keeps saying the Saints, the first great Saints teams that Sean Payton built, that offense was all built around Reggie Bush. Every single play was about Reggie Bush. Whether they went to Reggie Bush or whether Reggie Bush was the decoy, Reggie Bush was the thing. The guy, everyone was trying to stop. He made everything go. And that's what you're kind of saying about get a number 1 playmaker, because that number 1 playmaker is the guy who makes everything go. And it doesn't even matter if they're getting the ball. He's the guy that's drawing 2 people to let the other guy go.
Yeah.
I think, for me, it's wide receiver, but you're right. If it's Jeremiah Love, I'm good with going there.
There's one skill position guy in this draft that has 35 touchdowns in the last 2 years. And it's Jeremiah Love.
No. Jeremiah Love would be great.
Right.
And he could be a Reggie Bush type in the fact that he would draw all the gravity to him and would open things up. You mentioned Chris Olave is better as a 2, and that's the way I see it. The reason he didn't have a big game for 3.5 quarters because he couldn't get open, because he's being played by the number 1 cornerback every week. The way Chris Olave runs routes, if you could put him against the number 2 corner, I think he could blossom in this exact same offense. So to me, it's a wide receiver, then interior offensive line, then running back. But I agree with you, Ross. And
Yeah.
if Jeremiah Love is there, he is so good. And on my Heisman ballot, I'm a Heisman voter. I told Ricardo all year I had the 3 players. I didn't know what order to put them in.
Mm-hmm.
And one was Jeremiah Love, who might be the best player. One was Diego Pavia, who might have made the biggest difference on his team. And then one was Fernando Mendoza.
And when you were talking about that, who did I have one prior to the...
We
I had
all
Jeremiah.
talked a lot.
Yeah.
And
We
I
love
have to
Jeremiah
say
Love.
they didn't make the college football playoff, so I put him 3. I hate to penalize him for that, but to me it is about leading your team to team success.
Yeah,
and I put Mendoza. Actually, it's the first time ever since I've been voting that my 1, 2, 3 finished 1, 2, 3. But Love would be. I don't know if that's
Attaboy.
good.
Attaboy.
See, I don't know if
No,
that's
you
good.
wouldn't attaboy.
I have one point to add. We are all speaking about this selfishly because we are extremely tired of talking about, writing about the Saints picking an offensive lineman or a defensive end.
And what's
with their
weird is
first round
watching
pick.
football that's not super exciting.
right.
Like, we want to see dynamic.
They could
no,
take
you're
they
right.
could take a tackle. They could take a tackle with the number
Just remember
8 pick
right.
and move forward.
Remember
That'd
the
probably be
energy
really
that happened.
smart.
I was gonna say,
That's-
remember the energy when Reggie Bush was like
Yeah.
drafted.
Oh, my God.
This city
Look,
was so pumped
Yeah.
that they had a
But
guy like
eventually
that.
it might make sense.
If they get Arvell Reese, like you
Yes.
should be excited.
Excellent.
If they
Best player in
get
the draft.
you know if they get
Ruben Bain.
Ruben Bain,
Right.
I'm a little bit down on him.
You're a little bit down on him? Okay.
But like if they get like let's say a tackle, they kick Fuaga inside, you be like, okay, smart football play and not sexy.
Yeah, right.
But
But
Jeremiah Love.
sexy would be great.
Sexy.
Love some
With a little
sexy.
sexy.
All right, Ross, you take over. I'm going to make some drinks.
All right.
Who needs a refill?
So just to finish up this conversation too, I look at like playmaker as the number one thing, and then I go into your offensive line, and then I'm with you on edge rusher. And I think Arvell Reese would be such a good fit for Brandon Staley's defense. I'm curious about this. What do you think happens? Like, how do you think you feel? Let's say the Saints end up around 10, 11, somewhere around there. Arvell Reese is on the board at, say, 5 or 6. And then Mickey Loomis does the Mickey Loomis and trades up to go and get Arvell Reese, though. Like,
I don't want any trade up. I think the
You don't
team
want any
needs-
trade up.
No, because I think they have too many holes.
yeah.
Right.
All right.
Like you don't have time to give up like draft. Like you don't like this is a rebuild. Like
Okay.
use your like where you're at. Don't trade back. Don't worry about this. Like, get the best player and don't move up. Like I think I'm still like shell shocked from Marcus Davenport. Like I don't want one of those kind of issues.
sure.
Like and I'm, like there's still some PTSD from that. But like if it falls to you, sure. But like don't get aggressive and move up. Not in this draft. Like not. Use your picks, and we've been talking about stockpiling picks or like trying to get those picks back. So like don't make another move.
Okay.
Like, don't do that.
So the one thing I'll say is that I think this draft specifically is very short on star power.
Yep.
Like people who you could really easily see being star players in the NFL. So if you think you have a chance at one of those guys who's a true difference maker no matter what, could see being okay with that. But to your point, there might be 2 guys there if you're picking at 10
Yeah.
who are there because they don't play premium positions.
Right.
And, ask the Detroit Lions if they're upset they took Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right.
And I love Jahmyr.
That's a great-
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
And look, here's my example. This year, we're all going to acknowledge this was a terrific draft this year, right? They didn't trade up. They waited for their picks. Jonas Sanker came to them, they took him. Quincy Riley came to them, they took him. They didn't trade up 10 picks to get those guys and give up the later picks. They might not have gotten Quincy Riley if they had traded up in round 2 or round 3.
Yeah.
So you see the value. They might not have gotten Devin Neal if they had traded up in round 1.
Stutzman,
Those are the
right,
picks
yeah.
you give away. This team, I think, and look, I don't know if they have a ton of starter holes. They've got a few. They've got a boatload of depth holes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fill all of those.
Yeah.
Bring in another 8-guy class or whatever it is, and let's see who can play. Because of this 8-guy class, other than Vernon Broughton, the first 6 of them can play.
Yeah.
And Broughton may be able to. We just don't know.
Yeah.
I'm with you on that, by the way. I'm team trade down every
Trade down.
All the time.
every
All the
single
time.
time. It's the smartest thing you do because like the draft is such a crapshoot.
Yes.
You don't really know what you're going to get. But
Yeah.
but if there's a chance to get an Arvell Reese,
Yeah.
I think I might be okay with it.
Here's the way that I think about it. I think I would be okay with it too, but here's the way that I tend to kind of like balance it. Would you rather Arvell Reese or 2 years later Jeremiah Love and another first-round talent.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
Right.
kind of the way that I have to kind of juggle it. But because the draft is such a crapshoot, not only is it such a crapshoot for 2026, the year that you're actually drafting it, trying to project ahead to 2027 is almost a moot point, right? And so I try to balance it that way. But man, when it comes to getting the best player in the draft, which in my opinion, Arvell Reese is the best player in this draft. That opinion is subject to change based upon how things go. But I wouldn't be. I'm in the same boat as you. I wouldn't mind it. But I do like the exercise of, okay, it's either this guy or it's this other guy and another one,
right?
And just kind of having a kind of a little bit
but
of a balance.
But Arvell Reese is not going to be available past 3 or 4.
We have no idea.
We have no idea.
We have no idea.
One of my favorite.
He's a tweener. He's a tweener.
One of my favorite things. One of my favorite things was
be
like
really high on him and takes him.
Right.
The 2020 whatever draft class was, whatever year Brian Brzee came out.
Oh yeah.
I remember like posting something in like February saying like, oh, Brian Brzee could make sense for the Saints at 30, and somebody's like, there's no chance he's there at 30.
Yeah.
Which
People
like,
said that.
He was.
Right.
And they took him.
Yeah.
People
People said
time
that.
out. Taste these drinks if you don't mind. I'm sorry, Ricardo and Luke. Ross hasn't had his second one yet. I made this was a different rum. I used the white rum in the first one. It's called Rum Antigua. It means old rum. It's a more aged rum, more expensive, deeper.
I'm telling you right now, as an old soul, I know I'm going to appreciate this.
I want to hear it.
I love the look of that one.
Man,
it comes out
I
darker.
really like this one.
I do too.
I really like this.
So money you don't even
Here's
know
a
it.
shocker. The better alcohol makes the better cocktail. Don't use cheap stuff and
Get out of here.
I hate the take of, oh, you can't use the best whiskey in an old fashioned, or you can't use the best rum in a daiquiri. Absolutely.
What else
Whoever
would you use
says
it
that
for?
is
You just
wrong.
leave it.
100%.
Ross has heard me say that to him, by the way.
Oh, you said
So
that?
this is a Luke?
That's a
This is
Luke
a
thing?
Luke? This is
Oh,
a Luke.
I don't think you've ever said that to
It's a
me.
Luke
I don't think you've ever actually
Mentally, I
said
said it to you.
We're using a little telepathy.
No,
That's
I
not
think
right.
I think my take is if you've got the really, really nice stuff, you should just be sipping it.
My take
I'm gonna
is drink
sip
it
it.
however you want.
I'm gonna sip it and I'm gonna
you
pour it.
do you.
As long as you drink it. It
Yes.
doesn't matter what it's in. Just drink it. Drink the good stuff.
It will be drunk.
Look at the color
Yes.
difference.
No doubt.
I know. Look at that.
No,
It's
that
very,
is
very
a lot better. I like this. I like this version.
The stronger version is going to be on the Mouton Christmas.
Well, but this is also.
Okay.
I think this is closer to a holiday beverage as well.
I think it
It
is.
does.
Well, I added a little bit more
There's
of
a
the
little bit
falernum.
more of the spice.
Yeah, I added a little more of the
Cool.
falernum
Cool.
and a little more bitters. Okay, back to the Saints.
One other, so let's move from the draft to looking at like this weekend's game and looking ahead. Luke, you have done. First of all, let me just say this: Luke is one of my favorite storytellers in sports
Brilliant.
writing.
No
period.
question.
I'm not talking about locally here in New Orleans. I'm talking about ever. He's one of my favorite storytellers.
Agreed.
But beyond your incredible storytelling, you do a very good job of like sussing out some of the like little intricacies of how maybe a player has grown and things like that. And you had a really interesting take that I really loved about where Tyler Shuck has shown the most growth, or some of the most growth. And you were talking about him versus the blitz. Can you lay that out a little bit for us? Because I think that's going to be relevant this weekend.
Yeah. So like, let's just get into Tyler Shuck and some of the knocks coming out on him coming out of Louisville. He was bad against pressure.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things that's borne out by some of the clips you see of him. You know, he's getting chased down. He's just like kind of throwing the ball up over his head and it gets picked off.
I still remember that.
Yeah.
That again.
But
these
that was
clips
one of those
define
two
you. That's the
clips.
one.
Yeah.
But that is, I think, one of the more consistent things. The comparisons for him were Derek Carr, who is a player who really
Okay, Doug.
It's over. It's over.
PTSD.
It's over.
really struggled against pressure. Teams have tried to zero in on that. His first 3 games against pressure looks, 5 or more pass rushers, 6 completions and 20 attempts. Not good.
Yeah.
His last 3 games, 19 for 25, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, 123 passer rating. Sunday against Carolina Panthers, he was blitzed 11 times. First one was an incompletion, high throw. There was pressure coming off his backside. He felt it and threw a bad pass. The next 10 plays, all complete. 110 yards, touchdown. The touchdown came on a 0 blitz.
Yeah.
There was 7 pass rushers.
Yep.
The Saints had 6 guys in protection. The running back, Audric Estime, made a really nice blitz pickup.
Yep.
He
And
throws
Shuck,
a dot.
Shuck
yeah.
he looks to his right, looks to his left, comes back to his left, throws a dart to Chris Olave, who, by the way, like we were just talking about how Chris is not like maybe a true number one receiver, he's still an excellent receiver.
Yes.
Excellent.
He beat
excellent.
He beat J.C. Horn, one of the better corners in the NFL, who had inside leverage with a slant. He ran across his face, beat him. Shuck beat him with a throw. It's just past his extended fingertips. It's a touchdown.
Yeah.
And this is the stuff that you want to see out of a quarterback.
Yep.
And like some of it is offensive line, some of it's the blitz pickups by the running back, but like he is making plays when the defense is trying to heat him up. And that's where he's been at his best lately.
Yeah.
It's been really, really impressive.
That's awesome.
That touchdown pass to Chris Olave is also an example of how your head coach can help you with the things that you struggle with. So about picking up the blitz and all these other things. If you watch that play, all of the pre-snap busyness makes that play happen. We talk a lot about the NFL from snap to whistle, but Kellen Moore's offense and most NFL offenses start well before the snap happens. They get out on this line. You have a trips bunch over on the side is when they kind of line up like a little triangle. Juwan Johnson was at the point of that. Then you had Chris Olave and Audric Estime out wide. They moved Audric Estime to the inside. As he's moving to the inside, safety's moving from one side to the middle of the field. Chris Olave moves to the outside. It creates more space to get one-on-one with J.C. Horn. They motion Mason Timpton from inside the trips to outside the trips. That takes the entire defensive side on that side and makes them go outside. And then once that snap happens and they send those blitzers, the middle of the field is wide open.
Wide open.
Chris Olave and Tyler Shuck just have to make the play now and cross in the face of J.C. Horn, who Kellen Moore has to live rent-free at this point in J.C. Horn's head. There's no way J.C. Horn does not go to sleep at night not thinking about Kellen Moore.
I don't know how many times we saw J.C. Horn just on his feet in these two, off his feet in these two games.
Yeah.
Like the Olave long touchdown in Charlotte, that touchdown where you give up,
Juwan Johnson, the second touchdown there.
And but he had handled Olave for 3 quarters.
Right.
Olave had one catch?
One catch, 7 yards going into the last.
For 3.5 quarters, he had done a nice job. The problem is, when he really needed to take care of it, he couldn't.
60 minutes, baby. And so, all of the chess match before did a really good job setting up everything there of handling that zero blitz. Now, some of it is, hey, you happen to make the right play call against the right defense and everything like that.
But it wasn't even the right play call.
But it wasn't the right play call.
Right. He was running a slant on inside leverage.
Inside leverage, right.
And he still beat it.
And he still won.
So here's the question that I want to kind of because I know if people are watching this, they're going, okay, so why couldn't you have done this with Spencer Rattler? Why are we seeing now more of this evolution of the offense under Tyler Shuck? And is it more because Tyler Shuck fits more of what Kellen Moore wants to do?
I think there's 2 ways I want to answer this.
Okay.
Yes, I do think that there's elements of Tyler Shuck's game that fit Kellen Moore's play calling more than Spencer Rattler does. And to be clear, I think Spencer did a great job.
Really good job.
I think he could be a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Right. And at worst, he's a good backup.
Right.
But you don't need to hit that room at all.
There's a part of this to navigating chaos in the NFL.
That's good. I like that.
Where I think Spencer, he was really, really good as a scrambler, and getting out and making plays in the second phase. But he does a lot of stuff that you see young quarterbacks do in the NFL, and this is based off a lot of what they're taught in college, where when you bail, you're bailing wide.
Right. It's a Caleb Williams. That's why I would think he does that
And Caleb
a lot.
Williams is a special player.
Yeah.
And he can get away with a lot of stuff. There was a throw this week that just did not make sense.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And nobody should ever try it. Tyler, the thing that I think makes him unique as a young quarterback is that when he feels pressure, he steps up.
Yes.
Which is it's like he's playing quarterback in 2006, and versus 2025 when everybody's bailing left and right because they're athletic and they can get around them. And I think that's opened stuff up for this offense where the middle of the field is accessible and it's there all the time, and they're taking advantage of it.
It's one of the big reasons why they have made so much progress since that Miami Dolphins game is because of since the Atlanta Falcons game. I know they lost the Atlanta Falcons game, but even then they started attacking the middle of the field a little bit more with Tyler Shuck. And look, here's the other thing. I'll say 2 other things that I think contribute to what you're talking about here, Ricardo. First of all, is there's a big difference between week 1 and week 15.
Right.
Period. And so there is just a level
unveiling,
of well, you're unveiling something, but I also think there's a level of Kellen Moore had to learn how to be a head coach and play caller for the first time in his career. I think that matters. I don't think that people understand that, once you become a head coach, all of a sudden, not only are you game planning for games, and not only are you, leading a team, but you know everything going on with every person's life inside of that building, how to manage it, who needs a Wednesday off, or who needs to leave a little bit early, blah, blah. All these other things. There's so much of the
and
personal
you have the responsibility
of
of game management as well.
And not just your players, your coaches, your staff, everybody.
Right. Everybody's learning something.
100 guys you got to look out for.
So I think there's a settling in that happens late, to add to Luke's point. And then also the other piece that I think is a big part of it is, and look, take it or leave it, but I think there's a difference between a 6'5" quarterback and a 6-foot quarterback. And I do think that...
Yeah, a little bit.
Right. And I think that there is, and that's not that's no disrespect to Spencer Rattler. He can't control how tall he is, right? I can't control how tall I am. Trust me, if I could, I would. But when it comes down to it, the idea of stepping up in the pocket is more available to a quarterback that is 6'5" than it is available to a quarterback that's not. Right? And so I think that becomes a big part of it, too.
And what's been so much fun to watch about him is he has got a moxie in the second half, and especially in those last two drives. With the game on the line, he was sharp and quick and knew where he wanted to go and in control in a way that was really off the charts.
Yeah.
And look, I talk about Pro Football Focus because I like reading their analysis, and they are very flawed, and I'm not saying it's without flaws. They had him as the 14th best quarterback last week. After this game, he's up to the 11th best quarterback in the NFL by their grading system.
Which they apply to every one of those quarterbacks.
Which they apply to every one of them, and I don't think they're wrong. I think Tyler Shuck is doing stuff. Look, and I like Spencer Rattler. I think Spencer Rattler is at least an excellent NFL backup. A chance to be, if you took the 32 NFL backups, you definitely have a backup in the top half, maybe even a top 10 backup, because I think he could come in and win you games. But I think Tyler Shuck is playing at a different level. He's bigger, his arm is better, he's making quicker decisions, and he's been just ridiculously accurate. And his ability, things we didn't know about him, his pocket presence has been unbelievably good.
Yeah.
And we didn't know that was going to happen. You couldn't see that in training camp.
Could not.
But his pocket presence, where to step up, where to go, and then where to find people downfield, and not to be afraid of the middle. He's hit a few tiny window. There have been a few tiny window passes that were very Breesian in this in the last 3 games.
More than a few.
Yeah, more than a few.
Yeah, and that goes to the point where I think there's always this discourse of I want to be a Spencer Rattler person, right? Or you want to be and it's
you can like them both.
You can like them both.
And what you've seen from Shuck these last few, of how has it been able to have that? You said that moxie, that maturity, that you can see a 26-year-old. Where I go, age does matter. Being able to kind of navigate and be.
It matters, but it's an advantage.
Right, it is an advantage. Again, it's okay to like both, but it's I don't understand how you can't watch what Tyler Shuck has done. And go, man, you know what? He's not the answer. It's almost like you want to make sure your take of whatever is you don't want your take to go wrong about Tyler Shuck or whatever. And it's we're not saying he's he is just going to be this all-pro quarterback. We're not saying that. But at the same token, it's
He might be.
He could
and nationally, people are jumping on the bandwagon in a big way.
Right. And you're seeing the national narrative of him picking up. But it's also but at the same time, you had questions about the quarterback position going into this season, and you're going to end the season not having to worry about that? That's a good thing.
Not only that, he's the number 40 overall pick.
Yeah,
you got to cheat.
You're going to be paying $2 million a year.
We got 30 seconds left, and I want a prediction for Sunday. You think the Saints win?
Yes.
Yes?
The Jets made all those trades. They're done. The Saints are going to win.
Can I have my camera? Yes.
Look, here's the boldest of bold predictions. I think they scored 30 points.
Hey,
look, thank you for watching this edition of the Ultimate New Orleans Sports Show. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for being here.